Hello, and welcome to How to Get into Engineering for This is Engineering Day. Thank you for joining us. I'm Poppy Morgan, Campaign Officer for This is Engineering, and I'll be leading the talk with our engineers today. As part of This is Engineering Day, we want to celebrate how engineers make a difference in our lives, from helping the planet to helping develop the latest medical marvels. This session is part of a series we are hosting today. We have 4 other fascinating topics, and they are all free to join. All of these Q&As will be available to watch online afterwards, so if you can't make a session you're interested in, you'll be able to watch later. We're also excited to say we are releasing a preview of a new virtual museum, the Museum of Engineering Innovation. Visit the This is Engineering website to find out more about the engineering in theatre, medicine, and sport. Engineers are behind many surprising things in our lives, and engineering is such a broad topic, from mechanical and aerospace to biomedical and environmental engineering. A career in engineering can be really varied, and there are many different ways to get started. I'm joined by 2 wonderful engineers today from This is Engineering and our partner BP, who are going to share their insights into how to get into engineering. Would recommend setting your Zoom to gallery view in the top right corner so that you can see all the speakers on your screen. You can submit your questions via the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. You can do this at any time, and you also have the ability to vote on other people's questions, so we can see what you're interested in. Feel free to put your first name down or your school or class name if you want a shout out when we ask the question. I'm really looking forward to today's talk, as our engineers have been able to travel all over the world, and there's even been some bath bombs along the way. Thank you both for joining us. Olivia currently works for Resource Futures. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and your engineering journey?
Hi, so I'm Olivia. I studied chemical engineering at university. I did my master's up in Edinburgh. So I graduated in 2017 after 5 years studying up there. So then my first job was with Lush. The handmade cosmetics is the tagline, so the bath bomb place. And I now work for Resource Futures, which is a sustainable waste consultancy. The reason for both of those jobs is I've always been interested in sustainability and kind of a green future in whatever guise that is. So that's the reason I decided to study chemical engineering, and what has guided my career path up until this point.
Perfect, thank you so much. And I look forward to learning more about your university journey. Our second engineer is Dina from BP. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dina Mendes. I joined BP as an apprentice back in Angola, in Luanda, so that's in West Africa. I came to the UK. I did the apprentice in Hull College. And what I studied manufacturing and operations. And since then, I did my degree and have been working as a process engineer. I'm currently the executive assistant of the senior vice president of engineering in BP. And you may ask yourself, what's that job all about? So basically what I do is I provide technical and administrative support to the senior vice president of engineering, and I also provide advice on key policies and decision makings in engineering. So that's basically me.
Perfect, thank you so much. And yes, we'll learn about your apprenticeship journey in more detail shortly. To get started, I'd really like to learn a little bit about some of the work that you're passionate about. So I'd like to know about a project you're really proud of. Olivia, let's start with you.
So I think a project I'm really proud of was one I finished at Lush. I've only been at my new job since March, and that's been pandemic time, so I haven't done quite as much as I wanted to yet at this job. So with Lush, I was responsible for sourcing the aroma chemicals, or making the aroma chemicals. So that's the synthetic fragrance ingredients, the smelly stuff. And my job was to do that in an environmentally friendly and ethical way. So for one of our products, the creative team wanted the smell of a banana. I don't know if you know this, but you can't get the smell of a banana naturally. The processes for or traditional processes for making natural fragrance ingredients are distillation or solvent extraction, and a banana, both the skin and the fruit just goes to mush before you can actually collect off anything. But he was like, no, I'd like a naturally smelly banana thing if possible. So I did the whole R&D process. We have a lot of waste banana skins because the fruit of the banana goes into some of our face masks. So there was a waste stream there ready to be used. So I did work on seeing what I could extract from a banana skin, because the chemical you're smelling when you smell banana is isoamyl acetate or isoamyl butyrate. So I had to see if that was there, and then work out how I could get it. So I tried lots of different things. It ended up being a really simple method, always is, of just making a tincture with various different compositions of ethanol and glycerin. But then I also talked to the manufacturing team to see how they could collect and store the banana peels, where they would be made into a tincture, how they would be sieved essentially to get rid of all the gross stuff, and then where they would be stored and used. And I did a lot of work with also the micro testing team, because obviously it went into a face product, so it had to be safe to do that and make sure there was no nasty things in there. So then, yeah, my ingredient is in a face oil, solid face oil within Lush, and there's a little bit on the website that says we made this ourselves and this is how we did it. So that was my best project.
Perfect. I've heard about those foam banana sweets not tasting like an existing banana.
Yes,
I didn't.
But that's the horrible chemical smell that everyone associates with banana right there.
I didn't realize banana smells were so tricky to get. And Dina, from banana peels to BP, we've got the same initials at least. Tell us about a project you're really proud of that you've been involved with.
Yeah, I mean, as a process engineer, I've been involved in designing, implementing, controlling, and optimizing oil and gas operations. And it's really hard for me to pick a project because there are really so many, but one that comes to mind is I was supporting an asset in the North Sea, offshore asset, and they were really having issues to produce, oil at the throughput the plant had, and that's because the compressors had lots of operational issues. So I led a project basically putting a multidisciplinary team together, and that's rotating equipment engineers, electrical engineers, production chemists. So really a big team just to try to understand what the problems were and how we could sort it. And it was also good that I had involved a third-party engineering contractors in that. And at the end, we discovered that we were having a chemical reaction in the compressors between the gas and the corrosion inhibitors, that it's a chemical that we used to inhibit corrosion in the line. So we were able to find a solution to clean the system and implement a different type of a chemical. It was a big one that brought the production up for that facility. So I'm really proud of that.
So you're both in completely different fields, and yet what you take pride in is the fact that there's this problem that no one else has really been able to figure out, and you've been able to approach it from new angles and find that solution. So that's lovely, and obviously a core skill of an engineer. Olivia, what would you say your dream job was as a teen? If we went back to 13, 14-year-old Olivia, what would you want to be?
I didn't want to be an engineer because I didn't really know what an engineer was. Beyond kind of the traditional car mechanic, and now I'm older, I wish I had more knowledge around those things, but at the time that didn't interest me at all. So I always was interested in sustainability, so it was going to be something within there. For a while I really wanted to be an environmental lawyer, so that was my thing, totally different. And I've been through a million different jobs. For a while, when I first thought about engineering or doing something a bit more practical, I wanted to design roller coasters. That was what I wanted to do for a while. And I've also wanted to play in a film orchestra or in the pit at a theatre. So I've been through a few different things. I didn't think I'd be doing this.
Perfect. And the same to you, Dina.
Yeah,
What was your dream job as a teen?
it's very interesting because mine was to be a doctor. I wanted to go to medical school, and that's probably because of the influence I had in my family at the time. But I remember at some point I lived near a refinery, and I was really fascinated about this big tower in that refinery, and always wondering what was going on in that place. So that's kind of where my interest moved from medical school, being a doctor, into something more engineering.
Fascinating. And I'll do a bit of ping pong. We've got a double question here. Olivia, what would you say was your most useful or valuable subject at school? And what was your favorite subject? And maybe they overlapped, maybe they didn't.
My most useful one, I did this. So this isn't technically a subject, but I'm going to say it anyway. I did an extended project. I think it's called an EPQ in my A levels. I think that was really useful because my question was actually around recycling. So I've now come full circle and I'm working within it. And it was my first opportunity to kind of just go out and do my own thing completely. I made the question up. I did the research. I decided what criteria of success would be. So I think that was really valuable. And then my favorite subject was, I did English literature for A level, and that in my head, that was just really easy, and it was like a totally different part of my brain I was using. It was kind of my downtime, just to read a book and have an opinion, as opposed to stressing about. I did further maths, and some of those mechanics modules still haunt me to this day. So that was kind of my chilled zone. So that was a favorite.
Awesome. And I do often find when talking to engineers that there does seem to be that split between creativity and the maths side of things. My A levels were English literature and history and physics and maths. So again, getting that split. Dina, what about you? What were your favorite subjects and your useful subjects?
Yeah, so my two favorite and useful at the same time, I would say, is maths and chemistry. So I studied in Angola. So if I compare it to the UK system, it would be sort of similar to the A levels. And for me, these two subjects, they complemented each other, and really fascinated to be able to discover things on my own through doing chemistry, but through the maths, what I learned in maths. So for me, being able to bring these two subjects together, it was really fascinating. And those are the ones that I had the highest grades.
Perfect. I mean, always a sensible decision at the end.
Yeah.
And have you got any advice for first year engineering students? We've just had that pop up in the Q&A.
I will take that one if that's okay.
Absolutely.
I would say ask questions. Don't be afraid of the fact that there's loads of different people from loads of different schools and everyone kind of knows a different thing. The whole point of first year, if you're a university or whatever you're doing is doing it well, is they want to get everyone on the same page and make sure everyone has a good foundation to go ahead. So I would say ask a lot of questions and make sure you know what you're doing and you're enjoying it as well. I don't know if it's the same at every university and every course, but I was at Edinburgh, so it was really broad our first year. So there was the opportunity to switch around quite a lot. So I went to a few mechanical engineering lectures and civil engineering lectures, and I found that really valuable because they're people you could be working with. And also it was a good chance to be like, am I actually sure I want to do chemical engineering, or is there something else I'm more interested in? So I'd say, yeah, go to as many things as you can and ask lots of questions.
Fabulous.
Yeah, and I would add into that, just be curious, be curious, and it's really an opportunity for you to find out what else. And sometimes you might discover that actually what you thought you wanted may not be your passion, or you might discover a new passion. So really be curious and don't be afraid of asking any question. Yeah, I agree with that.
Fabulous advice for anyone starting out in engineering, and I'm assuming that's equal for anyone taking an apprenticeship route as well, Dina, to just be curious. Fabulous.
Yes.
How big would you say that jump is between that A-level equivalent level of studying to the next level up, whether that is through a university or an apprenticeship? If we start with you again, Olivia, what was that jump between A-levels, for example, in maths?
Yeah, so as I said, the system in Scotland is slightly different. There's an extra year compared to England because you can leave university, you can leave school when you're 17 in Scotland. So the whole point of that first year is to bring everyone onto the first page. So it wasn't too much of a jump. There was 2 options for maths for me. I did the harder option stupidly. So that was a big jump, but there was 2 levels of maths as well. So you can you can sit where you want to sit to an extent. I would say the bigger thing to get used to is the fact that you're independent for the first time. You are very much in charge of your own time, may that be studying or your personal and social time. So it's more balancing the excitement of everything being new and wanting to do everything and meeting lots of new people with the fact that you have still got to go to lectures and labs. And I would also say for engineering is there for me anyway, and again, different places, different times, slightly different things. There's quite a lot of contact time straight away in engineering because you have lectures you've got to go to, you have labs you've got to be in. So in comparison, I lived with somebody who was studying English, which didn't have many contact hours. So you've just got to be very aware of, you're not in school anymore where everyone's got 5 lessons or whatever lessons. So that was more of the jump for me.
Absolutely. And Dina, do you want to tell us a little bit about that potential jump, but also the experience of contact hours and industry experience through apprenticeship routes?
Yeah, so I think in terms of the academic side of the apprenticeship, I don't think it'll be a massive jump. It really depends on where you start, which level you start your apprenticeship, because there are different levels. You can either start at level 3 or a higher apprenticeship or a degree apprenticeship. So it really depends on the level you start. But I think for me, the key difference is that work experience, is the hands-on experience. You find yourself all of a sudden like working instead of just studying. But again, it's something that you quickly find that you have a network of support around you that will kind of help you navigate that time, because it can be quite challenging. Depending on the program, there are programs that you do 6 months or whatever time needed just in school, labs and all of those type of things. And then the other time at work, or a mixture of both. So it's the dynamic that can be quite challenging at first, but you soon get onto it, and it's very fun.
That's perfect. And I know we've touched slightly on this, but what would you say truly inspired you to take engineering? And again, Olivia, we'll go back to you.
Yeah, so I have always been interested in sustainability, so that was my driver as opposed to the subject necessarily. And when I found chemical engineering, when I was looking through university prospectuses, so very late in the day, I just thought it would give me the skills to make a practical change. I think so that's it in a nutshell. Like it was the way to actually make an impact that I could see and measure. And the flip side of that was, if all of a sudden I changed my mind, which I didn't, it would also give me a valuable skill set independently. Engineers are valuable people in a lot of different fields, both in engineering and wider. So yeah.
Perfect. And Dina, again to you. You talked about the tower earlier. What else inspired you to take engineering?
I think it's what inspired me to keep in engineering, and I would put it that way. And it's really when I discovered that as an engineer, I could do much more than what I thought as a growing up. So being having the thought that the world has so many complex problems that engineers are at the heart of the solutions to those problems. That's kind of what kept me in it. And more I am now seeing actually where I can shift my efforts towards the providing the world a more cleaner energy. So really, really excited into that space that BP is moving.
Fabulous. And this one may be a little specific, but so answer how you can. So Aaron asks, what can a level 3 BTEC student look forward to at uni? So Olivia, you can talk about uni experience perhaps a bit more, and perhaps some of your fellow students took BTEC.
Yeah, so I can talk about the university experience. I did A levels, I didn't take BTEC, but as I said previously, the first year is all about bringing everyone to the same level, so everyone can have the same as much as they can experience from that point. So I think the university experience, so there's I'm trying to think back. It's not that long since I graduated, really. I think first year can be overwhelming. As I said, you've got a lot of contact time as an engineer. You have to be in things. The flip side of that is you don't have as much independent study in first year, so you've got that balance and things shift. I think my university experience, I really got excited by university when I was being told what to do less. I had more freedom. So third and fourth year and fifth were my kind of bread and butter, because there was the choice of what you were studying. You could pick your own topics for research, and that's when masters came in. So that was the excitement. And I think as well with university, it's not just the term time, it's making the most of your summers in whatever sense that be. I did a lot of internships, and that helped me travel a lot around the world. So I did an internship in Pakistan, in Glasgow, which was just around the corner from me, and also some time in Sweden as well. So I think it's the people you meet and the things you do outside the classroom is almost more exciting.
That's perfect. And you've talked about the Scottish university system of that extra year, but obviously all sorts of universities offer foundation years. Apprenticeships have different levels. So much of them will depend on the provider of the apprenticeship.
I think everything is accessible. Everything's accessible to everyone in some guise. You just got to find how it fits for you. And I don't know everything.
That's perfect. It looks like we potentially, Dina may have dropped out. So Olivia will carry on. You've talked about some of your projects. So evidently both of you are very passionate about year in industry, that tangible experience. Tell us more about some of those industry placements that you've done and how they've helped you in your career after studying.
Definitely. So as I said the first internship I went on in the summer of second year, I went out to Pakistan. So that was university-based research. So I was looking at carbon capture from exhaust pipes and modelling that. I then went on to do an internship at an electrical company in Glasgow, and that was looking at how I could make the site energy neutral. So I was looking to see if they could get various grants from the government to build wind turbines or partner with people to collect hydropower. And I looked at this really cool thing where they had paving slabs that collect the kinetic energy from you walking around. So because they were a manufacturing unit, people kept walking around in circles essentially to make the electrical equipment so you could collect the kinetic energy to power the lights, which is very cool. And then finally for my master's, it was joint between a university and an oil company in Sweden. So I was looking at how you make the best biofuel essentially. So all of those build up to the sustainability angle, but it was all in very different places. So it was really useful for me because I was like, oh, I know I can't do just academia. That's too full on for me. But I've tried it out and I know that I like parts of it, but I don't like all of it. And then working in industry or in a manufacturing unit for the first time was really different because all my jobs up to that point had just been in hospitality. So kind of the strictness of rules, especially because it was electrical production of when you could go in, so kind of learning that. And I think it helped me to narrow down what I wanted to do and helped me have the confidence when I graduated to be able to be like, no, I'm not going to apply for that job just because it fits. I know I'm not the best person, or I won't be interested in the same way. So that was really valuable.
Perfect. So on that note, how easy did you find it to find employment after university, considering you weren't someone going just for the first job available?
Well, I went through that phase of let's just apply for every graduate scheme I can possibly find. So I got my job offer the same day I graduated. So that was a good graduation gift. And I started a month after graduation. So it was quite relatively simple for me. As I said, I did go through that phase of, it's hard in your last year. I was trying to write my thesis. I had exams as well to study for, and you're also applying for jobs, and that's a lot of time and a lot of headspace. And you do feel like you should just apply for graduate schemes, and they're valuable unto themselves, but I felt like it wasn't for me. So having the confidence to step away from that and be like, no, I'm going to find companies that I want to work for and have the sustainability and the ethics that I mentioned, and then focusing my applications. And it obviously worked because I actually wanted the jobs, and they could tell that, and it led to my job at Lush. And I think, so as I've mentioned, I went to university up in Scotland, and also as a chemical engineer. Traditionally, you do tend to be fed into the oil and gas industry, petrochemicals, for obvious reasons. But since 2008, and obviously I'm guessing now, considering what happened to the price of oil earlier this year, that's not such a solid bet as it had been in the past for just 80% of graduates to go into. So careers counsellors have had to kind of broaden their spectrum, I think, and I think that's really, really exciting, because there is so much more out there than just the petrochemical industry and pharmaceuticals, and finding that is really key. And another thing I would say is, don't get hung up, unless you want to do very technical engineering, don't get hung up on having engineer in your title, because that's not the only place that engineers are.
Great advice there. I don't know if we've got Dina back then. So can you give us a 1-2, Dina? Are you there?
Yes.
Oh, hello. We can hear you.
My camera won't start.
That's absolutely fine. We've been able to get some really lovely insights. We were just talking about getting into employment after studying. Could you give us, we're near the end of our time, do you want to just finish up for us and give us perhaps a quick 60 seconds on how your apprenticeship turned into a role straight away?
Yes, so some people may not know, but there are a lot of apprentice vacancies that are that run throughout the year. So look out for those. So I joined the company in one of those programs. So I was immediately employed at that point. So I just want to pick on what Olivia said. There are many options for employment. So I think as maybe 20 seconds, I would say, know your options, know your passion, and go for it. There are plenty of options there, and different people do different things. But the most important thing is really follow your passion.
Exactly. And the future is, there's more and more things. No one would have thought this time last year that this is how all of our work would look. So who knows what the future holds again. And yes. Thank you so much for all of your answers. This has been so fascinating to hear about both of your journeys. We've reached our time for this session, but don't worry, as part of This is Engineering Day and tomorrow's Engineers Week, we have 4 other fascinating topics, and they are all free to join. All of these Q&As will be available to watch online afterwards, so don't worry if you miss a session. If you have enjoyed today and you'd like to learn more, we have lots of case studies on our website, as well as a preview of our new Museum of Engineering Innovation. Visit thisisengineering.org.uk to find out more. For schools, tomorrow's engineers have launched the Big Quiz with 2 chances to win £1,000 prizes of STEM vouchers. Search Tomorrow's Engineers Big Quiz for more information. And for the budding designers, the Queen Elizabeth Prize for Engineering has a Create the Trophy competition. Download their app to design in 3D and create an iconic trophy that captures the creativity and wonder of engineering. The winner will receive a state-of-the-art laptop, and search Queen Elizabeth Prize for Engineering, or visit our website where you can find all of these details. An extra thank you to our wonderful engineers, Olivia and Dina. It's been fascinating to learn about university, apprenticeships, and all the other options that engineering offers. Thank you for celebrating This is Engineering Day with us, seeing how engineers can be the difference.